the youth of Zambia. This afternoon, our government would like to pronounce itself on a few issues pertaining in the country. The nation and the citizens will recall that yesterday, while attending what was called a prayer meeting for the opposition, the former president of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Edgar Lungu, made hair-raising and startling comments to the effect that Zambia could change government before the 2026 general elections as by law established. Let me at the outset indicate that the Zambian constitution, in terms of Article 106(1), provides that the president of Zambia will be elected to serve for a term of 5 years, and that after a term of 5 years, the country goes to democratic general elections. This is the tradition with which, as a country, we are accustomed to and this is what the Zambian constitution, the supreme law of the land, provides. Let me therefore indicate that the government, Republic of Zambia, is carefully studying those utterances of Mr. Edgar Lungu made yesterday during a church prayer session of Mr. Danipule's church. In studying these utterances, the government is taking into account all legal and security implications and circumstances surrounding or that might arise out of Mr. Lungu's statements. Let me, at the outset, therefore, indicate that the government finds Mr. Lungu's utterances not only inflammatory, careless, and indeed irresponsible, coming from a former head of state, rather that such utterances are deliberately provocative, capable of alarming citizens of Zambia with intent to incite civil disobedience in the country, lawlessness, insecurity, and a total degeneration of chaos and disorder. The Constitution of the Republic of Zambia provides general elections at regular intervals of 5 years, where political leaders of this country, including presidents, are elected through civil and peaceful means of a ballot. It is thus clear that the next general elections will be held on a Thursday of the second week of the month of August 2026. In this regard, therefore, Mr. Lungu's utterances to innuendo that there could be change of government before 2026 general elections are patently and manifestly ultra-vires the Zambian constitution, and therefore illegal and bordering on criminality and criminal undertaking and or enterprise by nature. President Hakainde Hichilema was lawfully and constitutionally and democratically elected by Zambians just well over 2 years ago. Any attempt, therefore, to assert a probable removal of a lawfully elected president as President Hakainde Hichilema is unconstitutional and illegal, and therefore unacceptable and untenable. The government has been observing with keen interest the heightening political rhetoric from some opposition leaders, including Mr. Lungu, aimed at sowing seeds of discontent and discord in the country for the sole and selfish purpose of gaining cheap political mileage and visibility. The government is thus aware that Mr. Lungu wants to take advantage and ride on the tide of the cost of fuel, load shedding, meal prices, among others, a situation in the country which is well appreciated by all citizens for political expedience reasons. The government notes these factors as affecting and plaguing normal life of our people and is sparing no effort whatsoever to address the same. That is why your government recently and successfully negotiated debt restructuring to free resources for investments in the social and economic sectors of our country for improved livelihoods of our people. Additionally, your government, this ending farming season, did everything that had to be done, and satisfactorily so, to ensure provision of agro inputs right in time in order to expand Zambia's food baskets with a view to improve access to affordable food, particularly the staple food meal by our people, and also to post a surplus to export so that would generate the much needed forex in the country in order to cushion our currency and also to bolster agriculture as a genuine platform of economic diversification from the monopoly of mines. Further, your government recently concluded landmark negotiations with Glencore that saw a new equity partner come on board at Mopane mine with groundbreaking results that include, inter alia, Zambia as a country through IDC to hold 49% shareholding in Mopane, which we as a country did not have prior to that settlement. It is imperative and important for me and for us to remind ourselves that through IDC, this particular transaction is unprecedented, as before the country only held to the maximum of 20% shareholding in any joint venture that the government Republic of Zambia through IDC were holding shares. That particular negotiation at Mopane has seen the injection of not less than and more than 200 million United States dollars that has gone into settlement of debts and arrears to the workers at Mopane, to the suppliers, to the contractors, to creditors, creditor institutions such as Kitwe City Council, which as we speak is celebrating also having offset all their debts, including terminal benefits of their workers. This particular development has also seen about 13.5% salary increment for those mine workers. It is therefore a well-considered view as government and on behalf of the people of Zambia that progress is being registered in the mining sector. With Mopane moving now from an average production of 65,000 metric tons to an optimal about 220,000 metric tons, with KCM deal now on board. Luansha Shaft 28 now under reconstruction after more than 20 years of inactivity. First quantum mine and disbursements into mining development of more than 2 billion United States dollars. We, as a people of Zambia, can now safely say Zambia's economy, through the buoyancy of the mining sector, was reflected in a strong currency and a strong economy and a better living by our people. This is where we are. These are some of the progress reports that this country has made in the last 2.5 years of New Dawn administration of President Hakainde Hichilema. The opposition, mainly led by the previous administration, would do well to admit and accept that even in the midst of economic challenges plaguing and affecting our people, tangible progress has been posted by this administration. And I dare say, the situation we find ourselves in today, that of load shedding, for instance, is well understood by now by all, that is an act of God. The situation of minimum, given the investments that government had put in through FISIP and also through the agro lending scheme, and also importantly, the people of Zambia who had decided to invest massively in agriculture this year. The question of access to milling and pricing thereof by now going into the future would not have been a thing that should have been on the menu of concerns or challenges our country and our people would have been facing by now. Therefore, it is important to acknowledge that these challenges are being confronted head-on, and that the President and his administration are not sparing any effort whatsoever to mitigate against these challenges. And that is why the President declared a national disaster. And as you would have seen in the last 1 week or so, in various provinces around the country, particularly in those jurisdictions where they are falling under the disaster zone, we have been seeing government flagging off distribution of relief food. That is your government at work. That is government's response to the current situation. We therefore like to indicate that when we look at the economic policies, the interventional measures government is putting in place to address Zambia's economy, even in the midst of this drought, we can confidently begin to say now that as early as 2025, Zambia's economy is poised to bounce back strongly. We therefore would like to urge our citizens not to follow Mr. Lungu'S self-made path of destruction, which he is chattering and calling innocent citizens to join him. A call for anarchy, a call for lawlessness in this country has no place. Let me be clear. Lawlessness and anarchy in this country of any sort, regardless of who is calling for it, has no space whatsoever and shall not be tolerated. We note the pomposity with which President Lungu seems to posture his utterances yesterday, and we are also privy to the fact that his cohorts in the so-called United Kwacha Alliance seem to find pleasure and solace to front him as their spokesperson because he's a former president. Yes, he's a former president. And as former president, we, as government and as citizens of Zambia, expect much more than the political drama he is currently involved in. We expect him, as former commander-in-chief, to be a proponent of peace and order in the country and not to be used as a conduit or conveying utterances and messages of discord and probable disorder in this country. Do we need, therefore, and needless so, to remind Mr. Lungu that he used to enjoy presidential immunity as President of the Republic of Zambia in respect of any action and or decision he may have performed whilst executing his mandate as President of Zambia, which mandate or which immunity is no longer subsisting under his current status as former president. Whatever he does there after he left office, he is to be treated like any other citizen, because that immunity does not extend to the period after he has left office. I therefore like to call on the nation to remain calm in the midst of such careless and irresponsible statements. As government, we note that such utterances and or statements are capable of negatively affecting investor confidence in the country, which is a key and critical component in the reconstruction and economic recovery and rebuilding endeavor that this administration is preoccupied with, having had inherited an economy which was in ICU, an economy which was in default state. And now, within 2.5 years, this administration has brought the status of this economy from a default state to now a probable grading of a CCC and or B by credit rating agencies, which has created a very potent and conducive, attractive, predictable economic environment for investments and business in this country. When we have statements coming from a former president saying, as former president, I know what I'm talking, I'm not joking. It is a source of concern by citizens. But we want the citizens to remain calm. Government is in place. I was also, and I'm sure many Zambians were elated to hear Mr. Lungu say he planned his way from Chawama to State House, and therefore he is as sly as a snake. Well, the views of some of us are that those statements are profoundly unfortunate coming from a man who was an incidental and properly stated an accidental president to Zambia. This is a person who only became president by chance of misfortune, that as a country we lost a president mid-term, and there to find him celebrating himself as a political engineer when in fact the only reason he became president is that he was left to act as acting president when the late president left the country. And by show of unity and simply continuity, the colleagues in the Patriotic Front opted to support him to finish the mandate of the late president. And today he is basking in glory of saying he planned his way from Jawama to State House. This pretty sounds like an insult to those friends in the Patriotic Front who supported him to become president only for the reason that at that time he was the acting president of the Republic of Zambia. And no one at that particular moment, he actually told the nation that he had no vision for Zambia. So how could someone who had no vision to be president have planned as sly as a snake from Jawama to State House? You should be grateful and thankful to our colleagues in PF and the people of Zambia for the opportunity he was given to be president, even though characteristically he was an accident president. And that is why he left our country in a total mess in terms of governance and in terms of the economy. The people of Zambia, therefore, need to be reminded that former President Edgar Chagwa is a godfather of political violence in this country. And that is why, under his reign of terror, citizens had no freedom to speak freely as they do today. The opposition leaders had no freedom to speak freely as they and him are doing today. Under his reign of terror and violence, an opposition leader would not announce beforehand, like he did, that they were going to hold a prayer church session at Dunamis, center of Mr. Danipur. That place would have been cordoned either by police or by PF panga-wielding thugs with guns. Citizens of this country know that as a living reality and as the anchor of the legacy of former President Edgar Chagwa. So, his call, therefore, and inciting the public to become lawless stems from the DNA of his politics. Politics of violence, politics of lawlessness. We want to remind him that he is no longer president. The people of Zambia in 2021 voted him out because they rejected hatred, they rejected violence, they embraced peace. We therefore call upon the people of this country that together we should guard these gains that this country, this far, we've been able to attain against all odds. Because begin to imagine if the previous administration under Mr. Lungu had continued, what Zambia would have been today. I can't even begin to fathom to think about it myself. I can't. That freedom he is using to begin to speak the way he's speaking is as a result of President Hakainde Hichilema adhering to leadership etiquette and guided by the rule of law. And President HH should therefore not be taken for granted. It is unnecessary for a former head of state as Mr. Lungu to continue to do political shadow boxing with the incumbent president. There is no benefit. It is acknowledged by this administration, though, that to change the way we govern ourselves as a country, we have sometimes to do extraordinary things. We are aware and alive to the fact that some of our citizens, even as we speak now, through the stream, comments are coming where citizens are saying you have given Lungu too much freedom. That is why he is misconducting himself like this. All right, to indicate that your government hears those comments. But this is a government of laws and not a government of men. This is a government that follows what the law says and not what our emotions tell us to feel and or do. And therefore, in the discharge of leadership and governance of this country, President Hakainde Hichilema commits and reaffirms that he shall remain an ardent defender of the rule of law, and that even in the face of such provocation, he remains calm and preoccupied to attending to the issues of the immediate concern of the people of this country. Let me also here and now indicate that the citizens of this country will do well to note that the fight against corruption is on course. Forfeitures are taking place, and a few days ago, the President Hakainde Hichilema, indicated to the Anti-Corruption Commission and allied agencies and the nation that forfeitures alone are not enough, but that those who are culpable, those who are guilty, those who are the culprits, must also serve custodial sentence, because that's what the law provides. And so when you find Mr. Lungu coming up with such statements unprovoked, you also have to see that it is an attempt to divert national attention to the progress being made in recovering the economy and also in the fight against corruption. Let me indicate that the government of the new Dawn administration of President Hakainde Hichilema will continue to pursue a robust economic recovery agenda towards economic stability and sustainability by ensuring that those electoral commitments that were made are fulfilled, by ensuring that government promulgates policies that are pro-growth. And to that extent, tomorrow, the 21st of May 2021, all roads in Zambia lead to Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway, because tomorrow His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema will be commissioning the beginning of the construction of the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway. This is one of the key electoral commitments that were made, that once we form government, we shall renegotiate the cost of construction, particularly of infrastructure, and in this particular case, roads. The price tag that was put on the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway has successfully been renegotiated to almost half the price that the previous administration had signed for. And at one stage, they were saying this road will not take off. here we are. Tomorrow, groundbreaking will take place somewhere at Lungu'S in Kapirimposhi district, and also on the other side in Dola. This is work in progress. The President is walking the talk. We do believe that once that road commences to be constructed, a number of jobs for the young people will be created. And once it is completed, a lot of fatalities on that road will be eradicated, and commerce will move smoothly and faster on that very important road. These are the issues that President HH is preoccupying his attention with. We therefore want to urge our citizens that even in the face of this drought that has affected our generation capacity for electricity, because we are largely green, we are dependent on hydropower. Even in the face of those challenges, even in the face of challenges to do with minimum and minimum price, we must to call on the opposition that this is the time to come together and work together to pronounce solutions to the challenges affecting our country, and not to call for anarchy in the country. And to those of you and the citizens